great storyteller and author, but as I am. I want to tell you about the time that I lost my passport, or really about the times that I lost my passports, because it has actually happened more than once. And like, I don't want you to think that it's because I'm absent-minded. It's more that I just can't be burdened with the material world. That's what is a passport or a credit card or your car keys, but the petty ephemera of this mortal coil. I feel like it's almost more like a form of enlightenment is what it is. The unfortunate thing is that Border Patrol does not tend to be one of the more enlightened of the federal agencies. So they insist on an actual physical object, of a paper passport to let you in or let you out. And that is why any fugitive will have a good collection of foreign passports under a conveniently loose floorboard, because Ving Rhames may be able to 3D print an entirely new head, but that fake head is still going to need to match a 2x2 picture you had taken at Walgreens if you want to get through. So the first time it happened, I was on a study abroad program in Haifa, Israel. And it was just after Iraq had invaded Kuwait, and people were very, very nervous that that conflict could expand to, for example, the Gulf Wars. And American students were told to be ready to leave at a moment's notice, just in case, which is one of the advantages of holding an American passport. But I could not find mine anywhere. And I knew I must have had it when I arrived, but it was just gone. So, because I had no ID, I needed to bring along another American to the consulate to vouch for me. But I hadn't met any of the other American students until we got to the kibbutz. So when my friend Barry was pressed by the consular official and he asked her, how can you be sure that she's from the United States? Barry said, well, I've seen pictures of her house in Minnesota. And he said, how do you know that wasn't Manitoba? Because Manitoba looks a lot like Minnesota. And in fact, she looks Canadian. Which is actually an argument I've been trying to make for the last 6 or 7 years. Gone nowhere. But he asked me to sing, recite the lyrics to the national anthem, and so, yeah, and I can never get past buying me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. But finally he said my mom could FedEx him the original copy of my birth certificate, and so she did that, and they were able to process the passport, and I was able to get it before the beginning of Operation Desert Storm. So mission accomplished on that one. The first night that I was back in the United States, I was kind of unpacking my suitcase and reflecting on my time away, and I found myself in possession of 2 passports. And not in like a cool secret agent kind of way, more in a mortifyingly embarrassing kind of a way. It was just way on the bottom of a lot of t-shirts, so you probably couldn't have found it either. But I didn't tell the State Department, nor did I tell my mother. I just tucked that one away somewhere, and that was that. So it was the new passport that I had with me just a few years later when I visited Portugal with my husband. And we were following an itinerary set by our favorite influencer, Fodor. He uses books for his travel blogging. But we drove all over the country, and then the very last day, we stopped in this little town that had beautiful views of the sea. I had been really, really careful with our important documents the entire trip. I zipped them into a dedicated messenger bag, and I locked that messenger bag in the trunk of the rental car. It wasn't until we got back to Lisbon, 2 hours away, that I realized that the trunk had been broken into and the messenger bag with the passports and the plane tickets was gone. So, good thing one of us had a spare passport, right? No, I'm just kidding, I'd lost that one a long time. What you need to do in that case is go to the police and make a police report. That's what the embassy requires, that's what Enterprise Rent-A-Car requires. So we went to the police, and I really emphasized how careful I'd been and the whole thing with the trunk. And they said, where you come from, is it considered a good idea to leave valuables unattended in a car at the beach? And I said, said, we don't have beaches in Canada. But they said we could go to the airport the next day and try to plead our case, but it was unlikely that we were going to be able to go home. And we were out of vacation days, we were almost out of money, and we were suddenly very disillusioned with Portugal and its petty thieves, and we just really, really wanted to go home. So we went the next day to the TWA counter, and TWA, you should know, stood for Trans World Airlines, which doesn't maybe mean the thing you think that it means, but before I could even get the whole story out to the agent, she said, I think someone found your plane tickets. I said, definitely not, because I emptied the entire suitcase this time. And she said, just wait. So she called someone on her walkie, and pretty soon there was this big guy in a suit striding through the airport, and he was just beaming, and he was carrying what appeared to be a messenger bag. And it was a Ving Rhames. No, it wasn't Ving Rhames. So what happened was this. The day before, a local woman named Maria Carvalho had been foraging for mushrooms in a national park near where we had stopped. When she was in the woods, she saw this bag that someone had thrown off the trail, and inside were plane tickets and 2 American passports. She might have turned it into the local police, but she saw that the plane tickets were for the next morning out of Lisbon, and she knew it would be too late. The airline offices were closed for the day, but she didn't give up. She found in the phone book that there was an after-hours emergency number for the U.S. Embassy in Portugal. I mean, I don't know what other kinds of emergencies the ambassador to Portugal has to face, so I don't know that number rings a lot, but the embassy gave her the home phone number for the director of airport operations for TWA. And in the middle of the night, she drove up to Lisbon and delivered the bags, just so 2 American strangers could get home the next day. I feel like I should clarify that when I say mushrooms, I mean just like I think they were regular wild mushrooms. I mean, not that it matters, but I don't think it was like shrooms. But what does matter, what matters to me, is that when I lost my passport the first time, an American official helped me. First, he determined I wasn't Canadian, and once I was his responsibility, he helped me out. And having that kind of political weight behind you is really powerful. When a mushroom hunter found my passport, literally the only thing she knew about me was that I was from another place, and she still considered me to be her responsibility. And having that kind of empathy behind you is also very powerful. So I'll give you this as my benediction. Next time I lose my passport, because let's face it, I would like it to be issued by the Republic of Mushroom Hunters. I would like it to be neon pink, so you can't mistake it anywhere. And I would like to get it stamped at the Trans World Embassy. I would like the Maria Carvalhos of the world to be in charge for a change. The people who care about safe passage of travelers, no matter where they're going and no matter where they came from, who consider children absolutely sacrosanct, whether they're American children or Israeli children or Palestinian children or Ukrainian children or my children or your children, and who will go into the deepest, darkest part of the forest just to find what's good. And maybe this is enlightened, maybe it's just naive, but I feel like there should be an option to use a retinal scan.